it's very difficult to live in this city and raise a family. And, home sharing has brought a lot of relief from a financial standpoint for myself and my wife. It's not a profit engine. It really helps folks like this, common folks, whether you're an artist, whether you're a young professional doing tech or, or doing services in the city to make ends meet.
And I am a single-family homeowner. We home share when we're out of town during the summer and holidays. In turn, we use that extra money to pay our considerable property taxes. And it also allows us a little bit of breathing room for unexpected expenses, like replacing the hot water heater or having to cut our trees in the front yard, which, as you know, the city requires us to do. My one amendment would be that my information, my private information, not be made public in a registry. It's a safety concern for me and my family.
The issue that I have is that we have used Airbnb, and I've been very, very happy with them. However, I think to put a 90-day limit on our use would not be helpful to us. We're both retired, and we use that income the remainder of the year. But if we limited it to 90 days, our friends and family would be the only ones be able to stay there, and we couldn't rent it out for the remainder of the time.
When I moved here 15 years ago to the city during the dot-com boom, everybody was talking about evictions and housing shortages and looking for scapegoats then. It now looks like they're using people like Airbnb and house sharing for something that this didn't cause. Whether house sharing was here or not, we would still have a housing shortage and there would still be an eviction issue on the table. So we definitely see in thousands of dollars a positive impact for our business. As a landlord who doesn't have any evictions, I also feel that it would be unfair to put a 90-day limit on me and what I choose to do with my home and how I want to rent it out, when that isn't necessarily a rental property today.
Right now, I write checks every month to the Caregiving Association that cares for my parents at $10,000. That's $120,000 a year. Airbnb has quite literally saved our family. Not only that, the type of people that rent my home in Noe Valley are a different caliber of folks. They're usually executives and folks that are coming here to make investments, folks that are coming here to do business. And I can share 56 cases with each of you that will literally have your jaws dropped. I fully support owners being able to rent out their units, and I fully support under a legal provision that even renters do so with the permission of landlords. And why limit it at 90 days?
And lastly, you can't stop technology.
I'm a homeowner with my wife in Bayview. I'm so excited that I have heard zero objections to the idea of people doing what many of us do with Airbnb, which is to open up our single-family homes that we own. One thing I want to say about that is I'm a Lyft driver as well as being a Lyft rider. Been driving for Lyft for a year and a half. Have been renting on Airbnb for over 3 years.
And I am a homeowner in the District 8, where I have an in-law unit that I rent on a nightly basis. This is a space that would go unused if I didn't have this business. I have been doing this for the past 2 years with Airbnb and have hosted over 150 guests.
I'm another retired homeowner who's renting out rooms from Airbnb so that I can pay my mortgage and hopefully my property taxes. I just want to say that I've lived in San Francisco 40 years. I adopted 4 children and bought a house here in the 80s. I don't have enough money now to pay the mortgage. And I just keep thinking about my mother lived during the Depression. And during the Depression, when so many people didn't have enough money, they used their houses to get an income. They called them boarding houses then. It's about the same thing that what I'm doing and apparently a lot of other people here.
On our honeymoon, Wendy and I loved to stay with what we called the babushkas in Eastern Europe, grandmotherly types who'd greet the trains and rent you a room. It was fun to bridge the language gap over breakfast, learn about their lives, share a shot of the local libation in the evening. So when we learned about home sharing on Airbnb, we signed right up. And it helped me start a small business of my own as well. Thanks to hosting, I finally had the freedom and finances to do it.
The short-term rental has not forced the sale of my family home, has put food on my table, has paid my property taxes, has allowed me to keep what I have left of my family in my family home intact. My major concern here is regarding the registry for the safety and the security of my guests and myself. If I have a posted registry number that is connected in any way and the public can find out my address, then this person can also find all my information out online. They can find out my name, my age, my marital status, what I do for a living, and they can see my calendar online, know when people are in my house, they can see pictures of within my house.
I acknowledge the housing crisis, and I currently rent a flat out long-term to a young couple in the Mission District where I used to live. They work for a local startup and travel often, and as a landlord, I would consider allowing them to sublet if it's done in a responsible, transparent, safe, and mutually agreed upon way. I'm sharing and utilizing space in my home that would otherwise be unused and wasted. There are so few accommodation options in my neighborhood. The demand is here. It's here to stay.
In our 4-bedroom home, we have two spare bedrooms that are empty when our boys are away. My husband is a public school teacher. He's been teaching for 35 years. Now, unfortunately, the cost of living in this wonderful city has far overtaken the wages that we earn here. There is no way that we would be able to stay in our home if we are not allowed to share our spare bedrooms. There is also no way that we could put our 4 children through college without this additional income. Our only chance of being able to afford to continue to pay our mortgage and property taxes is for us to have the additional income for renting our 2 spare bedrooms. I ask you to consider, who am I hurting here? We are living in very difficult times. Home sharing is a way for us to be able to stretch our dollar.
These hosts would be willing to pay taxes on their earnings and will welcome a mechanism by which that could be done, thus bringing millions of home sharing dollars to the city revenue flow. Home sharing enables my wife and myself and so many like us to afford our homes in today's economy and to not have to leave the city we love.
And I just moved to San Francisco a year ago this month, and I came here from Chicago. I got a new job in San Francisco. I was excited to live in the city. Finding an apartment in San Francisco is not easy, to say the least. I spent about a month before I got here trying to find a place, didn't find a place, but I had to start a job. Airbnb and house sharing was my only option. I went through 4 different home sharing locations while I was in the city looking for an apartment. They were all fantastic hosts that helped me get to know the city, and without those, I wouldn't have been able to afford staying at Holiday Inn for an entire month.
I'm not going to bore you with any of these stories or anything like that. I think we've heard a lot of great testimony, but really quick, I just want to ask who here would have to leave the city if Airbnb didn't, if you didn't receive the benefits from Airbnb and hosting. You know, I know myself, I would.
And I'm a graduate student, and I literally had no way to pay the mortgage. And Airbnb has allowed me to stay in school and finish up my PhD.
Starting home sharing in my home in an in-law unit has enabled me to stop working and be home with my children.
And as you probably know, according to recent statistics, San Francisco is now considered to be one of the most economically polarized cities, not only in the U.S., but in the world. I think the testimony that you've heard here today, and probably in other sessions as well, is enough to convince many of us, that home sharing, or whatever you'd like to call it, is a way of equalizing and not exacerbating that inequality in the city.